Please come to order. For the regular meeting of Ascension Parish Council, March 15, 2018. Please stand for the invocation to be led by Councilman Randy Cluott and the pledge.
In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to represent the people of Ascension Parish. Lord, we ask for your guidance and wisdom, that we continue to be open-minded to the voice of the people and the needs. Lord, with special intentions, we ask that you look upon all the law enforcement here in our local area and around the country. We ask that you keep them safe while they're doing their duty to keep us safe and to protect and to serve. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. I think Councilman Benny Johnson is working, so he's the only one I see not here tonight. There are no chair additions tonight. A public comment period. So if you'd like to comment on an item on the agenda, please come and pick up a card at the podium, a red or a green card, and you can turn that to the council secretary. Presentations tonight. First one we have is a proclamation to proclaim American Red Cross Month in Ascension Parish. Mr. Matassa.
Ladies, thank y'all for coming tonight. Okay. Whereas for more than 137 years, the American Red Cross has provided shelter, food, and emotional support to victims of fire, natural resources, war, conflict, and unexpected hardships. Today, the Red Cross is responsible for a remarkable 40% of our nation's blood supply. I didn't know that. It teaches life-saving techniques to volunteers, citizens, recruiters, and leads the world in international humanitarian aid. The Red Cross has proudly supported our military, our veterans, and our families for more than a century, delivering more than 352,000 services members of the military and veterans each year. Whereas the American Red Cross is a miracle-working organization going back to the founder, Carla Barton, who gave history one of the most incredible examples of courage and devotion to duty that has ever known. Her tremendous legacy lives on through the Red Cross assistance to hundreds and thousands of Americans affected by disasters each year. Whereas to do what it does, the American Red Cross relies on volunteers and the support of the American people. American Red Cross needs our continued commitment of time, resources, and funds to be successful. And our country and the world needs the Red Cross. Whereas today we announced the first Red Cross Club in America of the Ascension Parish, the Ascension Parish Red Cross Club. Let's give them a big hand. A Red Cross Club has opportunities for people to make meaningful impact in the communities and address in the greatest needs and development leadership skills. Red Cross empowers people with knowledge and life-saving skills to help prepare schools and the community to respond to emergencies. Now, therefore, I, Kenny Matassa, Parish of Ascension, State of Louisiana, by virtue and authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim March 2018 as American Red Cross Month in Ascension Parish, and encourage citizens to support the efforts and innovatives of the Red Cross and help all people in distress. Thank you so much. Thank you all again.
Okay, item B, we have proclamation East Ascension Class 5A Ladies Basketball Championship Team.
Can I have the coaches up, please? I'm going to get y'all to work tonight. Y'all ain't just come here for the show. Come on. Okay, we'd like you to call up the kids, and we will, and I'll hand it to them. Okay.
Kendra Alvarez.
Is the mic on? Wait.
Let's talk low.
Testing?
Yeah, just talk right into
All
it.
right, let me get close.
Jacqueline A.O.
Oh, yeah.
Allison Bennett. Aja Causey. Jemiah Clark. Stevie Earl. Molly Abard. Jay Honesty Hampton. Mackenzie Harris.
A-Bomb? Hatfield.
Nia Jackson. Kennedy Jesse. Diamond King.
That's Jesse?
Amaya Johnson. Mahogany Landry.
Oh, wait.
Got a little mess up here. Hold on.
Mahogany Landry.
Denai McZeal. Michaela Mitchell.
Wait, McZeal? Wait, slow up, Coach, slow up.
Hold up, Coach. We
Man, this ain't fast break. LeBlanc's not here. What about Kling? Wait, Michaela Mitchell?
Yeah, she's here.
Ah,
Everybody said,
okay. Valencia?
Wait.
Okay, okay, Coach.
Artasia Nicholas.
Let's go get behind us.
Okay, Linda Morris.
Kayla Soul.
Get behind them,
Okay,
they ain't
we're
gonna
back
see
on
you.
track.
They ain't gonna see me, they taller than me.
No, I'm talking about from here.
Taylor Smith.
Let me stand here.
Raven Turner.
Here's Marty.
Tristan Washington.
Give them out.
Sadie Williams.
No, he's a gator. We can't touch that picture.
Announce the other ones?
Yeah, these are, I got the coaches.
I'm gonna stand up for
McZeal?
I got one in
That's you?
Danesta
Okay.
McZeal.
I'm 74,
77.
77.
Donna is.
Bernadette?
She's not.
Bernadette not here.
Tiffany Johnson.
Tiffany Johnson.
Oh, you go get in the front.
We can go down there.
Oh, we good up here. You want to go down?
Oh, and that's him.
That's you. Okay, the other ones are not here, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, now,
That's more people than we had on that football team when I played.
They're bigger too.
Yeah, they are.
Martin. You gonna get them to come around there?
Or clue on. Well, he's going to read the proclamation.
okay, we really appreciate y'all coming out today so we can honor you for all your hard work And I mean, y'all fell in line before the coach called y'all name. Y'all was up here, so y'all know what's going on. Whereas East Ascension High School Lady Spartans basketball team finished the 2017-18 season with an overall record of 2 losses and 24 wins. The last 12 consecutive, and whereas the Lady Spartans won the first ever state championship for an East Ascension basketball team by defeating Natchitoches Central High School by the score of 37-32. On March 3rd, 2018, at the Rapides Coliseum, and whereas Dennis Chandler began his coaching career at East Ascension at Lady Spartans head coach in 1997. He is the first basketball coach, boys or girls, in the city of Gonzales and the Parish of Ascension to win a state championship. He has been he has been named District 5A Coach of the Year of numerous occasions. He has also been named the State and Southern Region Coach of the Year. Dennis has won 5 state championships as a basketball coach. He has won 1 state championship as an assistant boys coach and 3 as a head coach at McCall High School. And now he has won a state championship at East Ascension High School. In his 30-plus years career as a teacher and a coach, Dennis Chandler has promoted character development, faith, and life skills to all who entered his life and basketball program. His impact is not determined by his win and loss record, but the number of student athletes that he has impacted over the years. Now, therefore, I, Kenny Matassa, President of Parish of Ascension, State of Louisiana, by virtue and authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim March 15, 2018 as Coach Dennis Chandler, East Ascension Lady Spartans 2018 State Basketball Champions Day in Ascension Parish, and please join with me in congratulating him for all of his accomplishments. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Michaela, you're the team captain? You're about to be a YouTube star.
Just kind of get close to the mic.
Coach always tells us like to be the best version of ourselves, and I just had a really good 4 years with these girls. We're all like family now, and I'm really sad leaving, but we finished all right. You know, the seniors winning the last game, so it's really good.
Ladies, all right, we want to bunch you up against the counter. These gentlemen all want to be in there with you.
No, I ain't scared. When they win state champs, I'm
Stand here again.
one of many a state champions in baseball.
Like this tomorrow.
Man, y'all gonna have to get a little friendlier than that. Yeah, could we get a few of you on the sides to come and kneel in the front? Travis, get in the center, please.
Travis, they don't have room for you down there, Travis.
You the water one? You the water, you on the water.
Holding up the pitch.
You got to slug up.
Yeah.
You have to slug up big time.
Oh, they-
All right, ladies, I need ladies and gentlemen, everyone to look here, please. Halen, could I get you to move a little? Now. You're not a basketball player.
She might have been a basketball player.
I know, you keep hiding from me, Coach.
I've got everybody.
Hey, ladies, can we get a number 1, ladies? There you go.
Number 1?
Are you good now?
Have my limit.
All right, that looks it. Yeah, how about a number 1? Terrific. Thank you very much. Congratulations to each and every one of you. That's a lot of hard work.
Gary play basketball.
Congratulations, sir. Well done. Thank you for being
I think a couple of us could run up and down the court a few times. Wouldn't hurt nobody.
I could not run up and down the court.
Coffee at 1 a.m. cigarettes.
Not unless you call 911.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good stuff.
Pretty cool.
Okay, item number 6. We have the parish president's report. Mr. Matassa.
I don't have any report tonight, but I did do a sentiment, handed out my flow chart. And in a meeting or two, I will bring you the other 2 employees to be ratified once we do an evaluation on.
Okay. Thank you. On the consent agenda, I have a request to move item A, and that will now become item 9A. Other than that, Ms. McKee, you want to read the consent agenda?
Approval to remove the condition to construct an exclusive right turn lane for the westbound approach on Germany Road at Airline Highway prior to certificate of occupancy being issued on the first building for Silver Oaks PUD PUD. Ordinance number ZM14-15 pending approval to place Germany Road project into capital improvements budget. Approval for additional funding for asphalt and asphalt filler in the amount of $700,000 for the pavement management department. Approval of task order number 2, Bucart Horn, to provide miscellaneous tasks on an on-call basis to the Parish of Ascension Utilities water plant not to exceed $1,500. Approval of task order number 3, GSA, initial study of the LA Highway 22 area for regional sewage from the Hillaryville wastewater treatment plant not to exceed $43,750.
You didn't desire to remove any other item from the consent agenda? Okay.
Motion to
Got a motion by Councilman Cagnolati, second by Councilwoman Casso to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Any opposition? Consent agenda is adopted. Item number 8, approval of engineering selection committee recommendations, request for qualifications, design services for new Ascension Parish Courthouse, purchasing director Joan Shivers.
Good evening. On February 1st, 2018, the Ascension Parish Purchasing Department received 9 statements of qualification for the Ascension Parish Courthouse A&E services. After review by the Ascension Parish Engineering Selection Committee, 4 proposers were invited to participate in oral presentations. Domain Architects, Grace A. Baer, Architects, Meyer Engineers, and Mugio Architects. After review, the Ascension Parish Engineering Selection Committee recommends that the 3 top-rated proposals be submitted to the Parish Council for consideration. Once awarded by the Parish Council, the Parish President is authorized to enter into any applicable agreement or contract for this service.
Thank you, Ms. Shivers. So, had 3 architectural firms that had the same score out of the Architectural Selection Committee, and so we asked the Courthouse Committee, which was composed of Judge Vertigus, Clerk Hanna, Judge Lambert, and President Matassa and Sheriff Wiley, to make a recommendation. They are the users of the facility, so we asked them to make a recommendation, and I'll read that into the record tonight. Regarding selection of architect, Council Chairman Dawson, Ascension Parish Council members, the Ascension Parish Courthouse Committee, created under House Bill 327, Act 415, is writing you at this time to make a recommendation for an architect for the new Ascension Parish Courthouse. Pursuant to parish ordinance, a selection committee was formed and an RFQ was created. Some members of the selection committee consisted of members of the Courthouse Committee. The RFQ respondents were scored, and the top 4 candidates were asked to give oral presentation. In accordance with the RFQ, the written submittals were scored and weighted at 60%, and the oral presentation scores had a 40% weight. Upon completion of the oral presentations, which again is important to note were attended by members of the Courthouse Committee, the scores were tallied, which resulted in a virtual 3-way tie with the top 3 candidates separated by tenths of a point. As provided by parish procedure, the council must now make the final decision. Following the oral presentations, the Courthouse Committee, whose members consist of the courthouse users, met to give a recommendation to the council. There's no doubt all candidates are fine architectural firms who put together impressive presentations with great local and national teams. However, after much discussion and thorough consideration, the Courthouse Committee recommends the selection of Grace Hebert. Their long experience in Justice Center work and their recent successful project of the Livingston Courthouse, a courthouse that is of similar in size and budget to our proposed courthouse, along with their realistic, candid approach to keeping our project within budget, were all factors that convinced this committee that their firm would be the best fit for this project. The committee has given much time and debate in vetting all those worthy firms and asks that the council strongly consider this recommendation when making its decision. As always, we thank you for your time and consideration in this matter. Should you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us at any time. This is signed by Judge Vertigus, Clerk Bridget Hanna, Sheriff Jeff Wiley, Judge Marilyn Lambert, and Parish President Kenny Matassa. So I'd like to recognize the committee members that are here tonight, along with Judge Alvin Turner. So tonight we have, if you wouldn't mind standing, as Judge Turner, Sheriff Jeff Wiley, Clerk Bridget Hanna, Judge Marilyn Lambert, all members of this committee that had made this recommendation. I appreciate their time and consideration. Council members, it's at your discretion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the commission's recommendation to to retain Grace Hebert Architects.
Motion by Mr. Lambert.
Second.
A second by Mr. Turner. Any discussion? Mr. Sadley.
I'm really not prepared because this comes as a surprise to me. Not totally, because I do realize leadership sent us a one-sentence email during the week that a recommendation was going to be made. I assumed, I guess, incorrectly, that recommendation was going from the larger committee that consisted of scorers A through G, and now we learned that it's a sort of is that correct, a subcommittee of that group who signed this recommendation to us. So as a result, I have several questions before casting my ballot. One would be the obvious, why wasn't this in our packets ahead of time so it could have studied the language of what you just read, Mr. Chairman? Number two would be, do we know how this second, I'm just going to, in parentheses, call it a subcommittee of the larger committee, came about, their decision in breaking a 3-way numerical tie? It's long been known that the Doc Sadley always performs statistical analyses when professional committees, such as professional engineering committees and so forth, render their results to see if, somebody might score a 98, somebody a 97. You all have heard this before. How can I tell if that's really different? I did not perform anything like this time because there's no reason to do statistics when there's a numerical tie with 3 different companies. Having said that, however, Even the fourth one's in our packet, and I'm not quite sure they're under consideration tonight or not. The sum of the of three of the companies, to be fair, will end up being, after this weighting you discussed, Mr. Chairman, of 60% for the SOQ evaluation phase and a weighted percentage of 40% for the oral interview phases, which, of course, as councilmen, we weren't there for the oral parts, resulted in 85, 85, and 85 respectively for Domain Grace Abear that is getting this recommendation tonight, and Mujo, versus Meyer, which is at 81. And again, had our performance statistics, it very possible, depending on the variance involved in the various scorer and reviewer, if you will, populations, that they wouldn't have been different either. So question number 3, given 2, would also be, why was there an abbreviated committee other than the original ones that contained, for example, the Southern Engineer and others not involved in this final recommendation? So if you want me to review that, Mr. Chairman, it's why wasn't in our packets ahead of time? How do we know how the 3-way tie, or maybe 4-way tie, was broken by this, quote, subcommittee? And then what was the third one I had? The entire professional.
About the letter.
Right.
The letter.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, you know, as far as the committee and subcommittees, perhaps I wasn't clear on that. So this courthouse committee was formed by the Legislative Act. That committee has been meeting and making decisions about the new courthouse for almost a year now. So that is the committee that, by the Legislative Act, was empowered with, you know, the oversight of this construction for all intents and purposes. Now, as far as the letter was received. I received it this afternoon, actually a few minutes before the meeting. You know, when they met sometimes between the time that the oral presentations were made, or that the selection committee, you know, made their scoring that Monday night or that Tuesday night. Yeah, I'll get one in a minute. But so there was our standard engineering selection committee was supplemented by 2 members of this courthouse committee, which is, again, if maybe Ken Dawson would like to comment on that, of the makeup of the scoring committee.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. As the ordinance said, it's pretty clear about the makeup, and we were fortunate to get a representative from DOTD to participate on that committee that could look at the traffic issues. Also, the Southern University professor that has graced his time to do that. We also had to make up with what's required. As chair, the CAO as chair of the committee, we also had an engineer on staff, who was Mr. Joey Turo, and also Mr. William Daniel provided or comprised the initial 5. Based on a decision that was made in the council meeting, the other 2 were added, you know, to move forward as a part of the selection committee that comprised the courthouse committee, and that was our clerk of court and, of course, Judge Verdict. So, and let me just say this, awful lot of time was spent by the people involved with this, and I think they did an excellent job with the time they devoted.
So one more clarification, that was a public meeting, is that not correct? That meeting was open to the public?
The meeting was open to the public. When we go through the selection process, it was open to the public.
Okay. So are there any questions for Mr. Dawson? Mr. Sadley?
Yeah, so again, at the risk of being a little bit redundant, I've learned some more. So we've got a legislative committee here that met for a year, is what I heard. And they ultimately, and I assume if I understood that correctly, that's the full review is A through G that's in our packet, all 7 of those members, okay? And they ultimately then give a 3-way tie after appropriate 60-40 weighting.
No, the courthouse committee was, only 2 members of the courthouse committee were added to the engineering selection committee.
But they scored.
They scored, 2 of them.
So my point remains that all 7 of them scored and resulted in a 3-way tie of the, what was it, the 84, 84, 84 number I gave earlier. So then we're now having another committee that's not made of all 7 of those. What's the total membership of that? 5, 4, 3?
This is five
5.
members.
And so therefore, 5 of the 7 get, quote, a second bite of the apple, all too common, I find, in this parish, and so forth. And so my question remains, how did these 5 decide, out of the original 7, that our voice is the one that finally should be heard in recommending to the council, since we weren't able to do anything but 3-way tie when all 7 of us would?
So,
What methodologies, I ask, were used?
So this is
Was there
not
rescoring? Was there a rescoring?
No, there was no rescoring. So these are the users of the facility. So
I
they
understand-
were brought in
before.
just as we did in the fire stations in the past. Things in the past, we brought the users in and asked for their recommendations.
So from the beginning, there was a plan to reduce this committee and not rescore, or what are we saying here?
This committee that did, the courthouse committee is separate and distinct from the engineering selection committee.
I've got that. I mean, I think I've stated.
They're the users, so the engineering selection committee made a recommendation. Their recommendation numerically was there was a dead heat between 3 people. The users, we asked them for a recommendation based on the fact they're the users of the facility, and their recommendation came in the form of this letter.
That's exactly, I understand it now exactly the way you said it, but I disagree with the procedures, quite frankly. I think that this examination now is a recommendation of their breaking the 3. In fact, why are we even here, frankly? Why are we going to break this tie when they have already recommended to us they broke the tie? That's another question we can add to
The council has to approve this. This is a recommendation.
I understand that. I understand it. We can vote for anybody we want, right?
Exactly.
Okay, well then.
So we have a motion and we have a second to adopt the recommendation and award the contract to Grace and Hebert. Any further discussion? Further questions? Opposition? Is there any opposition? Have opposition.
I'd like to make a substitute motion, actually.
Okay.
I would like to nominate Mujo.
Okay, we have a substitute motion to nominate Mujo. Hearing no second, motion dies for lack of a second. So we're back to the primary motion to recommend Grace, to approve Grace Hebert. Mr. Cluett.
Just a quick statement, and Doc went on about it, but I just want to clarify, because to save the grace and the respect of the selection committee, these people work hard at making hard decisions and come to us, and a lot of times they get blamed for it. Is that their recommendations was in a tie, and it went back to the stakeholders, and the stakeholders made a recommendation to us, and
That's it.
that's where we at right now.
That's it.
I don't want any negative on the selection committee. They're, you know.
So what let's remember that we had discussion and then discussion was closed and we asked for opposition. Mr. Sadley had opposition, so I think we're at the voting stage now.
I have another, I want to comment on the last council's comment.
So the discussion period was closed.
I guess I didn't hear that.
When we asked for asked that the voting machines be opened. So please cast your ballots. Okay. Madam Secretary, please close the machines. Okay. Motion is adopted, 10-0. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Shivers. And thank you, committee. Okay, we're going to go to item 9, and we have some speakers on item 9. The first speaker that I have is Barker Dearman with Ascension Chamber.
Thank you, Councilman Dawson. Council members, Barker Derman, President of the Ascension Chamber of Commerce. Here today speaking in support of the Methanex request for approval for ITEP. You're going to hear a lot of numbers today, a lot of good numbers. This is a massive mega project that will mean great things for our parish. But I'm going to speak to one of the things that the Ascension Chamber prides itself on, and that is making partnerships between our business members and the community. And I can tell you that Methanex is a great corporate citizen. They get involved in many different activities in the parish, and their employees volunteer quite often in the community. So I just wanted to speak to that side of it. Obviously, this is a huge project. It's going to have massive ripple effects throughout our economy, and just ask for your favorable support. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Robert Schramm, did I say that correctly?
Yes, sir.
With Louisiana Chemical Association,
Yes,
correct?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. Robert Schramm with the Louisiana Chemical Association. I just want to come up here in support of the exemption for Methanex. I'm with the Louisiana Chemical Association. We have about 60 member companies, mostly made up of large plants and large companies. We also have the Louisiana Chemical Industry Alliance under our umbrella, which is made up of over 900 companies. So just that alone is pretty evident that when these projects come to town, it spins off to a lot of benefits to the community. A lot of other businesses flourish, and these are big economic driving projects for the locales where they're decide to locate and expand or construct these plants and projects. I think this project is an economic win for Ascension Parish. It's an economic win for the state of Louisiana. It's an economic win for workers in this parish, in this state. And I think it's a good thing because we have other states that are being more competitive. They're trying to win projects away from Louisiana, and they're getting more effective at it. So anything we can do to keep the investment here and the economic development in the state and in the Ascension Parish area is a great thing. And so I would request respectfully that you just honor the recommendation of the Finance Committee and approve the tax exemption for Methanex. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Russell Richardson with BRAC.
Good evening. Russell Richardson with the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. We're the regional economic developer for this region, representing 9 parishes, Ascension Parish being one of them. Here tonight to support the Methanex project. We've been working with LED, the State Economic Development Agency, as well as with AEDC, the Ascension Parish Economic Development Corporation, as well as the company. Just to kind of give you some perspective on the level of the project, we have probably a portfolio of probably 100 projects that are considering this area for investment, and we try to close about 10% of those a year. So that at the end of the day, that's around 10 projects, and those average around 200 to 250 million on an investment level. So for this level at $1 billion plus, that is a very significant investment. It will be a win for Ascension. It will be a win for the region and a win for Louisiana. And we thank you for your support.
Thank you, Russell. Mr. Rick Ward, I think, with Louisiana Economic Development.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, my name is Rick Ward. I'm Director of Business Development for the Louisiana Department of Economic Development. Built into the Louisiana Constitution, the Industrial Tax Exemption Program, or ITEP, serves as one of the state's strongest incentives for manufacturing investment and employment growth. 4 of every 5 states offer similar incentives as this one, which makes ITEP key to Louisiana's ability to win jobs and capital investment. With changes instituted by Governor Edwards, ITEP now assures local government a voice in what exemption level they provide to manufacturers and a role in requiring job creation and retention. Your role makes a powerful manufacturing incentive an even stronger contributor to creating shared value in Louisiana's communities. ITEP permits local governments to forego some property taxes on new investments for a period of 5 to 8 years. In return, manufacturers commit new and expansion projects that provide new jobs, in some cases retaining jobs that might otherwise be eliminated. From the start of each project, considerable economic activity occurs locally. Once companies begin paying property taxes, those taxes, along with all the other benefits, support and grow communities for decades. Since announcing the first of its Geismar projects in 2012, Methanex has become a major economic driver for Ascension Parish, the Capital Region, and the state of Louisiana. The company followed through on what it said it was going to do back in 2012. Methanex has made more than $1.4 billion capital investment in Geismar, and we understand the company's been an excellent corporate citizen in Ascension Parish. Now, as that company weighs options for new methanol production, Ascension Parish and Louisiana are in strong competition from other locations for this same project. Methanex is considering new investment up to $1.6 billion and the promise of more jobs and greater economic activity in Ascension Parish. We want to win this project for Ascension Parish and Louisiana. This new project would create 1,000 construction jobs in Ascension Parish. They're going to create 25 new direct jobs at an average annual salary of $80,000 plus overtime and benefits. This community for years to come would benefit from our successful attraction of this new Methanex expansion. And we would secure Ascension Parish as the continuing leadership role in Louisiana's industrial renaissance. Thank you.
Thank you. Shane Wilkinson.
Mr. Chairman, Committee, Shane Wilkinson with Turner Industries. First and foremost, Turner Industries is proud to call Ascension Parish home. As a homeowner in Prairieville, I'm proud to be here today on behalf of Turner Industries. Turner has over 1,200 employees that reside in Ascension Parish. With those 1,200 people, there are well over 2,000 people that work in this parish. With those numbers, that makes us the second highest employee of Ascension Parish. Turner, as you know, is headquartered in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, but we're proud to announce tonight we're opening a facility off of Highway 73 and 30 to accommodate the petrochem environment in this area. So on behalf of Methanex, we'd like to please see this exemption passed.
Thank you. Mr. Dale LeBlanc. Remember that, it was a Mr.
Chairman, Council, Dale LeBlanc, work with Cajun Industries here in the local area. I've been with Cajun for 21 years. I've resided in Ascension Parish for 21 years. My family's grown up here. Married a pretty young lady from Ascension Parish, and it's hard to get her out. I will tell you that I was involved, I broke ground on the first Methanex facility. I was there. I happened to be fortunate enough to be involved with the project. Great company. But what I'm going to tell you tonight is different from what other people are telling you. I'll tell you from our contractor's perspective what we do for the community because we're able to work on projects like the Methanex jobs. We go into high schools. We talk to them about careers. We talk to them about college, but we also talk to them about learning a trade, and we support that. We have high school outreach programs. We donate materials to welding classes and to pipe fitting classes, carpentry classes. We're in East Ascension. We're in Donaldsonville. We're in Santamar. We're in Dutchtown. We're in all schools that you guys support. And it's extremely important that we keep these projects in Louisiana. Our neighboring state to the west, the business climate there is exceptional. And I think we need to challenge them and try to keep our people home. We have over 1,000 employees. Like the gentleman from Turner said, 1,000 employees in this area that live and breathe and spend money here and put money back into this community. So it's extremely important to us as contractors that we support this exemption. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So this is the last speaker that we had for tonight. I'd like to call Kate MacArthur with Ascension Economic Development. I think they have a recommendation from their board.
Thanks. We do. I would just like to say that all those comments I think are true according to my notes I was going to present to you as well. And also to say that not only wanting to be #1 in basketball, but we do want to be #1 in economic development. And I really think that this project, being the scope and size and economic impact it's going to bring, is a great way to be #1 and continue being #1 and try and recruit the largest facility for Methanex to be in Ascension Parish, and potentially then be the global leader of methanol production. So what we've asked for your consideration on tonight is a resolution that's in your packets. And essentially what it's requesting is participation in the ITEP program in a way that Methanex has committed to creating 25 new direct jobs with an annual payroll of $2 million. And they have a range of capital investment from $1 billion to $1.6 billion. And when we started this out, we said it was a range because we're so early on, that they're still in the very early stages of determining when they're going to announce this project, and will it be here or will it be in Canada. So what we did to kind of be good stewards is a committee came up with an idea of a way that we could see if they could commit to $1.3 billion of capital investment, then we would grant them 100% of the ITEP for the property tax in years 1 through 5. And if they would meet $1 billion to $1.3 billion, then they would be eligible for 95%. And if they were at or below $1 billion, then they would get 90% of the property tax exemption for years 1 through 5. So it's a way that we would be incentivizing them to create more spending in the front. So during that construction time period, when we're collecting dollars way before they're even in operation, that we can maximize that value here in the parish. So that's the resolution that we have included in your packets for consideration to vote on tonight.
So do we have a representative from Methanex here?
We do. So Paul Daou, Methanex's Vice President of North America, is here, and he wanted to share a few words with you.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Paul Daou. I'm from Methanex Corporation, and I'm the Vice President for North America, so I overlook our business in North America. First of all, I just want to thank you for hosting us tonight and considering our request for an approval in terms of our ITEP application for our G3 project. I just want to say a few words first. We're really excited to be a member of the community here. When we first were looking around building new facilities a few years ago and considering North America locations, we went looking at a number of different communities. And in the end, I'm happy to say we decided to build our facilities in Geismar and come to Ascension Parish. And there's a lot of contributing factors out there when we look at those projects and consider them. And the warm, welcoming community that we got, the support we got from the community and the government entities here in Louisiana was a large deciding factor. And ultimately, we took 2 of our facilities in Chile and we relocated them here to Geismar. And I'll say at that point in time, one of the big contributing factors to that, or one of the things that really helped with that decision, was the approval of ITEP, or having ITEP associated with that project. It was a differentiator, and it was something that contributed to that decision. So when we look at our project now, we continue to kind of look around the world, and as a growing company, Methanex looks at the opportunity to grow and potentially take our shareholders' money and invest in different locations. And there's a lot of different factors that we look at. And one of the big factors that we look at is geographic factor, and where should we locate or take a look at building another facility. And that's always something that we consider. And we look at these different risks, and we look at the different benefits of locating in different locations around the world. And one of the things that we're looking at right now, 2 projects right now that we're looking at are in North America. One of them is in our Medicine Hat location, which is in Alberta, Canada. And another one here is to take a look at building a 3rd facility here in Geismar. And what I can say is Geismar has, when you look at a lot of the factors that you consider when you're going to invest as an organization like us, a lot of competitive means and a lot of competitive factors to attract a project here. But other jurisdictions as well have more competitiveness in certain factors. So when you look at a large project like ours, some of the things like capital costs to build the project, looking at labor force, looking at location to market, looking at feedstock like gas prices, and looking at incentives and taxes are the different things that you weigh out when you look at these different facilities. And I can say, as I mentioned before, that a lot of those factors Geismar and the Ascension Parish are quite competitive with. Some maybe not as much as others. So when we look, for example, in Alberta, there's some competitiveness in that jurisdiction as well. One of the big ones that I would mention is gas pricing, which is very important for us. So natural gas pricing, which is a feedstock for us, you look at a location like Alberta, and they have probably about $1 per MMBTU advantage. And that's a pretty important differentiator for a jurisdiction like that, for a project for us, in the sense that for a project like G3 would represent about $50 to $90 million differential advantage to that jurisdiction. So we weigh all of these things out. One of the things that we're starting to see as well in other jurisdictions is that they're getting more creative and more competitive to try to attract large projects like Methanex's to their jurisdiction. And I think a large reason that happens is because they see the long-term benefits that a project like this brings to the community. One of the things that we really pride ourselves on when we go to a new community or we invest in a community is giving back to that community in the sense of creating jobs, high-quality jobs, really hiring local folks to run our facilities, looking at reaching out from a social responsibility perspective and giving back to the community, as well as the long-term revenue and tax revenue that comes from a project like ours. What we've seen in other jurisdictions like Alberta, for example, is a ramping up in some cases of trying to attract those projects. In Alberta, we saw in 2017, for example, and they came out with their own incentive program where they put $500 million up to incentivize a couple of new build projects that were successful to get those incentives. One project got $200 million in incentives, and the other one got $300 million in incentives in the form of royalty tax credits. But that's not all. They recognize they're winning those projects, and it's important to do that because of the value back to their province. And so what they've done recently is they just passed the Energy Diversification Act, where they're putting up another $2 billion in the form of various types of incentives to continue to attract projects to Alberta. And I think, again, that's a reflection of the value that the projects bring back to the community, as many of the other speakers commented before. So one of the things that I was going to say a little bit more is, in terms of where we're at with this as an organization, there's still a fair amount of work with any of these types of projects to make a decision. We are taking a look at these two projects and considering them seriously, and any kind of ITEP approval or incentive goes a far way, and it is really an important contributor to the project. It's not just an important contributor in the sense of where do you locate or where do you invest your money, but it's also if you invest your money. And we have lots of shareholders in our of Methanex that when we make these type of decisions, we have to weigh out the different things about where and if and what we do with shareholder cash. So I just want to kind of end off here by saying that these type of incentive programs, they are very important. They're a very important contributor and very important in terms of the decision-making process that an organization like ours uses in terms of making any kind of investment decision. So I appreciate the time to speak this evening, and I appreciate that the council is considering our ITEP application and considering approving it.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay, so Mr. Cluott.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the ITEP agreement as presented tonight.
Second. I have a motion by Councilman Cluott, second by Councilman Satterley. Any discussion, any further questions? Any opposition? Hearing none, motion is adopted. Okay, we're going to go to item 9A, removed from the consent. That's approval to place the modification and construction of the westbound intersection of Germany Road and Airline Highway in the capital improvements budget and allow the use of traffic impact fees and capital improvement funds to pay for the design and construction of Germany Road to mirror improvements installed at the intersection of Duplessis Road and Airline Highway. Transportation Committee recommendation, but I think if Mr. Fournier would come up, please, the questions were more related to the impact. Is that correct, Mr. Satterley?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Yes. So, Mr. Satterley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Jerome. Jerome, I see, as I'm sure we all do, your February 28th, 2018 letter to members of the Transportation Committee. And of course, as you know, I attended last night and heard this matter publicly heard again, so to speak, by P&Z. And that's not my question. I don't see it coming as their recommendation as well. And so let me start before I misinterpreted, I'm blaming anyone for anything. This is a process issue again to me. Okay. Not anybody that didn't do hard work, which I recognize and am thankful for, and so forth and so on. So I get that not constructing only a right turn lane at this point at the captioned intersection to later only, as you said last night, destroy it, because we really need a right, left turn and straight lanes there. And when you lay things out separately like that, you just waste a whole lot of money redoing stuff. I get that. But here's the procedural issue, and I thought about it last night but chose not. It's a very contentious night, as you know, on other issues to come up to the microphone. But the use of impact fees was coupled last night, and is also from the Transportation Committee, their recommendation, with some, I guess, capital outlay funds, undefined, to eventually do the multi-lane project, okay, which I support. But I thought, and Mr. Chairman, correct me if I'm wrong, you were, along with myself and at least one of the council members, sort of co-authors of our impact fee law, along with the advice of our consultant at the time, that we were supposed to yearly, sort of at the end of the year, I believe the law states, I don't have it in front of me, determined by the full council, or at least a committee of it, or whatever it says in that law, I haven't looked at it in a while, to decide how the funds are to be expended. And the funds, as we all know, I think, can be expended, keyword, anywhere, in any one of 3 impact districts in which they were collected, and not necessarily bound to, although, like I say, I kind of support this, to the exact impacted area where monies were collected. And by the way, when I say I supported it, obviously if you cross over the airline from Germany and you're in Duplessis, that's a boundary of my district. So, and we already have that right, left, and straight turn connectivity, if you will, on that side of the airline highway. But our law, I believe, provides, Mr. Chairman, for not expending any impact fee funds. Also, if we deem, for example, it's not the right place to do it, it just has to be spent, like I say, in the district, and let's say maybe elsewhere it would be spent and have even a greater impact, or solving a greater impact on traffic. Or we may decide, like the library takes an approach a lot of times. They have a dedicated tax, and they don't always use it to run their operation, but they let it build up yearly till they can afford to do something in their mind that's more meaningful, build, by analogy, another library. So that's another option available in our law, that maybe that would be something. And the point I guess I'm trying to make, and rambling again, this was, just something that came up in front of an appointed body and in front of a transportation committee, and then it's placed on a consent agenda, as if everybody's all happy with it. And that is the procedure when things go through committees and stuff, if the vote was unanimous. But Mr. Chairman, again, I'm wondering why we're not doing this a la what the law states as to the process.
I got you.
The process, and please, I would ask my colleagues, I don't really need any criticism, if possible, about blame or anything. I don't blame anyone on that previous item or on this for doing their job and doing a great job, and I'm appreciative of the same. But again, I'm concerned about the process. I mean, maybe there's some other councilmen, like I say, it's good for me. It could be for my constituents, but it may not be for somebody in Sorrento or somebody elsewhere that maybe the money could be spent. Or maybe that's not even in this district. I mean, I don't know what a boundary actually is between, I believe, Mr. Jerome, we have 2 districts on the East Bank and 1 on the West.
Correct.
And it kind of like, if you look at a horizontal line across the Ascension Parish map on the East Bank, we have sort of like the northern half and the southern half.
That's correct.
And I'll stop there. And I thank you all for listening.
So, Jerome, you want to address that?
Well,
I know there was a question there, Doc.
I think there was, and I think I can answer that question, Councilman Satterley. When we adopted the traffic impact fee program, we designated certain roads in the parish as traffic impact fee roads. And those were what we felt were major connectors that would really help alleviate, if they were improved, and in the utilization, some of the traffic impact fees, were used to improve those roads, it would help the overall traffic situation in the parish. Partly in some areas, overall in other areas. So with that said, this particular road, Germany Road, going back from its origin or a portion of it back in Santa Monica, going towards Airline Highway is a traffic impact fee designated road. And so when developers improve traffic impact fee designated roads on their own, either as a condition of approval or as some other motion, we would give them credit for against their traffic impact fees for improving those type of roads. We were approached by the developer of this project because it is a traffic impact fee road and because it's a designated right turn lane onto Airline Highway for credit, against this traffic impact fees. We did that on Highway 44, adjacent to the Oak Lake project. That's going to improve that Highway 44 across the street from Conway. We're going to have a 4-lane road there. We're giving that Oak Lake project credit against their traffic impact fees. So the same would apply to this project, and we were approached by them. I had conversations with Councilmember Johnson, who's unfortunately not here tonight, about why are we doing that? Because this is, if they put in the right turn lane, we're just going to rip it up in 2 years when we want to do a full traffic improvement to that intersection that mimics what's across the street on Airline Highway, where you're correct. We have a left turn lane, a through lane, and a right turn lane. So let's utilize the funds. So basically, the amount of money that we're talking about here is that the engineer estimate for doing the right turn lane was $193,000. The total traffic impact fee dollars that we're going to collect from this one developer is $388,416. So we would subtract the 193 from 388, and that's what he'd pay left over, the difference in traffic impact fees. We said, well, we're going to rip out the road later. Let's collect the entire $388,000 from him instead of just $190 or so dollars, $1,000. And let's use those funds to build a really first-class intersection there. And that was the purpose of the deal.
Well,
Mr. Chairman, I humbly submit, Jerome Fournier is the only person that I know who can give a more lengthy answer than the length of a question that I asked. But I thank you for that, Jerome, and it was, as always, educational. Here's what I need to know, okay? So it is your testimony or your belief, sir, and I think I heard that it's what's needed, IYO, in your opinion, and therefore you are saying tonight that that's the best possible spending of impact fee money is this, and we don't need to be thinking about any, like that is the top need in this parish.
No, I wouldn't say it's the top need.
Top three?
Saturday. It's...
Is there, let me ask you this way, are there needs elsewhere in District 1 that this money could be spent on that are greater needs than there?
Oh, I'm sure there are.
But you still recommend spending it here or there?
It's partially my recommendation, partially some of the council
I
members.
understand all the people behind it, right? I'm asking you, though.
Yeah.
You're our planning director.
Okay.
And you're willing tonight to either say, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, that it's in the top 3, top 5, top 10, or I just don't want to say that at all, Doc Sally, and you can do that as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to say it at all.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think there are needs around the
I'd like to maybe get a clarification. I think part of the question was what's the procedure for dispersing the money?
Well,
so I mean, I think I don't have the ordinance in front of me, but I think Councilman Sadler is correct that there is some procedure in there.
There is. As I read the ordinance, there's no hierarchy of projects that are listed in the parish.
But what we're trying to understand is how is the decision made and by whom?
Well, I think it's a combination of traffic engineering studies, things of this sort. The roads that we designated as traffic impact fee designated roads are the ones that we're going to be spending the money on. If we want to create a hierarchy of those roads, we can. I'm just saying that the money that we've collected, we haven't set up a program that says we're going to spend the money here first, then second, and then third. There's no hierarchy there. Right?
Okay, Mr. Cluett.
Yeah, real quick, Jerome.
He's had his hand up for 30 minutes.
Yes,
Within
sir.
the districts, the money spent within the district, right?
That's correct.
Okay, that's
All-
good.
all
Good
the-
answer, that's enough. You got it. All right, the second thing is, I guess, if somebody was looking at doing something within the construction of a community or development or whatever, and it fit within our plans, and I guess that's how you start thinking about what you're gonna do.
Right.
There's no necessary application, it's basically a basic deliberation in your department looking at it.
Right.
And coming forward to us saying, hey, we think this is an improvement, this is the way we want to map it out, and this is what we want to do with it.
Right.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, and what you're going to do is you're going to try to keep from doing double work right now.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Mr. Lawler.
Thank you. And I may have a couple questions for McEnloe also. May need him to get up here. To talk about a time frame on this, if we decide to go forward with this, what kind of time frame are we looking at?
We can prepare the task order. We have in the next week, we have an engineer assigned to Germany Road Safety Widening, which is a CRPC-funded project, and we can issue a task order to them next week to get started on the design. I think I talked to Jeff today. Barring no unforeseen holdups with Sue and right-of-way acquisition, 4 to 6 months design on that, and then put it out to construction. So,
Okay.
if that's what you're looking for.
That is,
Okay.
just to get a timeline on it. The reason I asked last night, there's a gentleman that came, and I want to apologize to him because I didn't realize this was going to be on the agenda right away tonight, Mr. Barrios. One of his concerns was the amount of traffic that is going on at Germany Road. And I know I was talking to Derek, may be able to speak on this. One of the suggestions that was made is this development is a row of houses and then an apartment complex. And the houses are built right now, and there is no requirement to have a right turn lane off of Germany onto Airline until the apartments are built. And one of the suggestions that we had looked at to help ease his concerns about putting more traffic onto Germany before there's improvement right there is there's a gate that separates the houses, the single-family houses, and the apartment complex. And one of the things that we had proposed was closing that gate, keeping it closed to prevent traffic from the apartment complex getting onto Germany and having it only accessible for emergencies. And if Derek can speak on that, is that something that is still possible that we can do?
I don't really see it. I don't really see an issue with that as far as developer. We can make it as part of the developer agreement that we have to revise. As far as it's that entrance has to be gated anyway.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure the developer wouldn't have an issue with that being it. We're only talking about a short period of time.
Yeah, that's why that's why I was checking on the time. We're going to start working on it right away. I'd like to make that. I don't know if that's be an amendment to the motion. To what we have going on here, if we can do that, but require that the gate is kept closed except for emergencies until these improvements are made. And I agree with Councilman Clewart. I mean, we don't want to sit here and spend $190,000 2 years later, have to rip it up. Yeah, that's just a not wise use of our money. And these are traffic impact fees that are generated literally 100 feet away, 100 yards away from this intersection. So this money is going right to where the impact is going to be felt.
I would ask that if it is going to be put a stipulation about emergency, they would put a time frame with that in case something does happen, God forbid, that it's not in perpetuity. So we do put a finite time frame on that emergency gate option.
Okay. Mr. Enlow, do we have a good, and I know it's not a great idea, but are we talking years, decades before this gets done?
Before the intersection improvement?
Yes.
I would say we could get out to construction this year. I mean 4 to 6 months for design and put it out to construction. So
Okay, I mean,
I think DOTD would. I don't
would
see any
18
problem.
months be a reasonable amount of time that if this isn't done, I mean, I think we could get
I
close.
believe so, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Is that good with everybody?
Yes, sir.
Just trying to find a solution, but I think that would work.
Councilman Todd Lambert.
Yeah, Mike, this project is a PUD, and when we designed it and it came to body,
we have an outlet on Airline Highway, correct?
Yes, sir.
So we have two outlets. It's not just Germany Road. It is Airline Highway with turn lanes on Airline Highway. And like I say, it's a need for this intersection. And $383,000 to $194,000. Come on, it is a need, and it's up to this body to make the decision. That's the policy. Is this group right here make the decision and move forward?
It's a good idea. Jerome came to us with it. We looked at it, and this is what we're paid to do, is look at efficiencies, and why not do this? So.
Yeah, the guys that's wanting to turn right, that's fine if they had a right. But what about the guys that's turning left? It's impossible. So.
And somebody mentioned, like, couldn't we just build on this? Somebody mentioned last night, couldn't we just build on this right turn lane? The alignment doesn't work.
Correct.
The way it is today.
I watched the meeting last night.
So we're going to have to. It is going to be ripped out.
It'll be total waste.
Correct.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Mr. Cagnolati.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Mr. Lawler.
Yes, I just want to make sure that we're right, and I'm not going to undo your motion. I guess you said I just want to make sure that we have the right motion, because what I'm motioning is, or what I hope they're motioning is that we stipulate that the development will keep the gate closed for a period of 18 months, except in the event of emergencies, and the gate is the one separating the two parts of the development. Keep that gate closed for 18 months except for emergencies, or until the intersection is complete. So if the intersection is completed prior to the 18-month period, the gate can be opened if they want to. They don't have to.
Let me see. Is that your motion, Mr. Cagnolati?
Yes.
Mr. Lambert. Okay,
Good with
Mr.
that.
Cluant.
Real quick, I want to confirm that I spoke to Councilman Johnson, they St. Todd District, Benny's District, right up in that area, that Councilman Johnson is pushing for this. He's not here tonight, but I'll go on record and say that he said that he's in favor of it.
Oh, yes.
He's had to work.
Councilman Satterley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Jerome. Thank you, Mike, everybody. Just want on the record and clarity. Question is, will this impact fee, the number that was given a moment ago, cover 100% of the right-of-way acquisition in all three lanes, not just one lane? Once again, someone gave me credit, but I was the first to say I'm totally for this. I'm talking about procedure here, but I want people to understand clearly. Okay, we're going to have to use some capital outlay monies on top of impact fees to get this done. Is that not correct? I mean, can we build three lanes and buy all the land necessary to do so for 100? What was the number, Mr. Jerome?
388,000. 388,000, and
not to do the whole job, but how much is the impact fee?
The impact fee is $388,416.
So my question is, we can do all that with that amount of money?
Well,
without any capital outlay on top of the impact fee?
The motion here is to allow traffic impact fee money and capital outlay money.
I understand. That's why I'm asking the question.
Right.
Let me try again. Is it a yes or no answer to my question?
I would think it'd be probably more than that.
Okay, so the answer is yes, and probably even more than the 300 to do it.
Than the 388,000?
Correct.
I think the design, we've already looked at the task.
So we're going to be using impact fee money, we're going to be using capital outlay money, and there's a good possibility, you're telling me, Mr. Enload, it could be even more than the number that you gave.
More than the impact fee collected from that site?
Both together?
Could be, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You're even saying both together, right? Not trying to put words in your mouth.
I don't know what the argument is here now. So
there's no argument.
No. $388,000 is what they're going to collect. You're asking
Correct.
if that's going to be the amount?
And you're telling me it's probably going to cost more than that. But now we at least established it's not going to just be impact fees. It's going to be impact fees and capital outlay.
Yeah.
So when we make this motion tonight, we're voting to fit a budget somewhere, Mr. Chairman. Is that not correct?
Well, that's written in the
I'm just asking for a yes or no.
Yeah, that's correct.
Thank you. Thank you. No more questions.
Mr. Dempsey Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just riding through, I think there's 5 new subdivisions, am I right? In this area we're talking about that's ongoing right now. The school board just bought property right next to one of these, so there's a school potential that's going to be in this area. Any traffic that we can make go to the airline highway is going to help tremendously at this intersection. So I agree with you, Mr. Law, on that. But people are wanting to see immediate turn lanes so they can move traffic. So I would put this at the top of, there's, Walmart and, the stores and everything on the other side. We have to get people across Airline Highway. So, yeah, anything we can do to move this, I'm with you.
Do we have a motion and a second? Any further discussion? Any opposition? Hearing none, the motion is adopted as revised. Okay, see where we are. Item number 10, approval of amendment to monitoring agreement for River Parish security systems to include burglar alarm at Department of Public Works West.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Councilman Kluart, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Discussion, any discussion? Any opposition? Motion is adopted. Item number 11, authorization for the parish president to sign Lamar Dixon Expo Center sponsorship agreements not to exceed $2,500. Mr. Parrington.
Motion.
Motion.
The
Got a
people at
motion
Lamar
by-
Dixon asked for this because, like, they have a thing out there today, and the normal process would be for them to have to go through the Recreation Committee and then to the council, which takes almost a month, where they got people who come out and want to buy one, like people wanted to buy signs for the soccer contest this week.
Yeah.
So they'd asked that we have a process to do this.
Okay, so I have a motion by Councilman Lawler, a second by Councilman Cagnolati. Any discussion? Mr. Joseph.
Yeah, some of this money going to recreation,
Yes,
correct?
depending on the sponsorship agreement. Some of them do, some of them don't.
Okay.
Further discussion? Any opposition? Motion's adopted. Approval of contract with corporate mechanical contractors for Lamar Dixon Expo Center, chiller number 4 replacement, not to exceed $240,000. State of emergency.
Second.
Joan Shivers, Purchasing Director. A motion by Councilman Turner, second by Councilman Kluart. Questions, discussion from Ms. Shivers? Opposition, is there any? Thank you. Okay, public hearings. Reading of ordinance, budget amendment number 1 to amend the 2018 budget. Mr. Parrington.
An ordinance to amend the ordinance approving, adopting, and appropriating the 2018 operating and capital budgets for the Parish of Ascension adopted by Ascension Parish Council on the 30th day of November 2017. Section 1, the Ascension Parish Council hereby ordains that the ordinance approving, adopting, and appropriating 2018 operating and capital budgets for the Parish of Ascension is hereby amended, approved, and appropriated as follows. Operating budget, general funds, revenues, grant, EPA Lake Pontchartrain, $47,000. Expenditures, building department, acquisitions, vehicles, and equipment, originally in 2017 budget but not expended, $80,000. Planning and zoning professional services, master comprehensive land use plan, contract with CPEX, $450,000. Originally in 2017 budget but not expended. Appropriations and grants, EPA Lake Pontchartrain Phase 2, $49,500. ACUD number 1, expenditures, acquisitions, building and land, purchase a sewer plant for St. Jude subdivision from Utilities, Inc., originally in 2017 budget, but was not expended, $250,000. Capital budget infrastructure projects, expenditures, Highway 3127 project, $450,000. The ordinance has been submitted to a vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Public comment.
Got a motion by Councilman Satterley, second by Councilman Cagnolati. Open the public hearing.
Motion to close.
A motion by Councilman Satterley to close the public hearing, second by Councilman Cagnolati.
Motion to move.
A motion by Councilman Joseph to move the ordinance, a second by Councilman Cagnolati. Any discussion? Any opposition? Ordinance is adopted. Item number 16, reading of ordinance to accept the donation of a parcel of immovable property from the Prairieville Fire Department for the purpose of fire protection. Mr. Parrington.
To accept the donation of parcel of immovable property from the Prairieville Volunteer Fire Department for the purpose of fire protection. Whereas the Prairieville Fire Department owns a certain parcel of immovable property that they desire to donate to Ascension Parish for the purpose of fire protection. Whereas the Parish of Ascension hereby desires to accept the property pursuant to an act of donation attached hereto as Exhibit B and made a part hereof. Therefore, be it ordained the Ascension Parish governing authority acceptance and the donation of parcel of property situated in the Parish of Ascension more fully described as Exhibit A attached hereto and made a part hereof. The ordinance has been submitted to a vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Open public comment.
Got a motion by Councilman Satterley to open the public comment.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Castle.
Motion to close.
A motion by Councilman Satterley to
Move the
close. Second by Councilman Todd Lambert. A motion by Councilman Satterley to move the ordinance. Second by Councilman Cagnolati. Any opposition? Ordinance is adopted. Item number 19, reading of ordinance amending the Ascension Parish zoning map from conservation to light industrial, crossroads commercial, and medium-intensity residential. Zoning review ID 1548.18 Edenborn vicinity rezone located on the east side of South St. Landry Road, approximately 6,800 feet south of LA Highway 30. Mr. Parrington.
The ordinance amends the official zoning designation of Edenborn vicinity rezone from conservation to light industrial, crossroad commercial, and medium intensity residential. The rezone is identified as zoning review ID PZ 1548.18 Edenborn vicinity rezone, whereas the Parish of Ascension local governments as the subdivision is defined by Article 6, Section 44, Louisiana Constitution of 1974. Whereas the Parish of Ascension is the governing responsible body over the zoning and regulations within the jurisdiction. Whereas Article 6 of the Home Rule Charter of Ascension Parish adopted May 4th, 1993 identifies the process and manner to adopt ordinances regulating the lands of the parish. Whereas the official zoning map of Ascension Parish was last adopted on March 6, 2016, and whereas the Parish Council reserves the authority to make changes to the zoning map by ordinance, this request has been processed and is complying with the process set forth. Be it ordained the Ascension Parish governing authority that the official zoning map of Ascension Parish is amended to reflect the property identified as Exhibit A as light industrial, crossroad commercial, and medium intensity residential as the official zoning designation. In the event any portion of the ordinance is ever held invalid or unconstitutional by any reason of any court of competent jurisdiction over it, such portion shall be deemed separate, distinct, and independent provisions shall not affect the validity of remaining portions of the ordinance. This ordinance shall be in full effect submitted by law, the exhibits or the aerial zoning map. The ordinance submitted to a vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Public hearing.
Motion to open
Got
public.
a motion by Councilwoman Casso, second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert to open a public hearing.
Close.
Got a motion by Councilman Joseph. I'm gonna get you after the, Councilman Joseph to close the public hearing, second by Councilwoman Casso. So I move the ordinance.
Motion to move the
Got a
ordinance.
motion by Councilman Kluart to move the ordinance, second by Councilwoman Casso. I think we have some discussion by Mr. Fournier, is that correct?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chairman. If I could get John to put up the
I got it.
display here. Yeah. We've had a lot of conversations with numerous property owners in this area. This whole concept comes before you because we were asked by the Planning Commission when this property down here was rezoned from conservation to medium intensity residential. They asked us to look at this entire area as a rezone. And we, internally at staff level, as well as in conjunction with some of the property owners, looked at what could possibly happen when we connect the new Edenborn Road, which is coming across right here, to the traffic circle that's in the city of Gonzales, and possibly put what we're calling here just a conceptual road that would tie this area into what's happening at Cabela's up in the north. And we could create what we're calling either a commercial, industrial, or mixed-use corridor along this section of the road. And in light of our conversations, we have talked to some of the major property owners, and this particular property owner here, which is a Crossroads commercial parcel, has requested that their property be zoned multi-use, MU zone. And we would make a recommendation to the council right now that we change this from what we're anticipating to be Crossroads commercial to a mixed-use land use, right? And this has been in consultation with some of the property owners. One of the things that we're looking at in the new plan is to possibly come up with what we're calling an institutional type use. Right here is the sheriff's office. There's the rifle range back here. These properties would be publicly owned, things of this sort. So basically, I'm asking you right now if you, as the council, would consider the change from this Crossroads commercial to a mixed use. And I have Lance here who can give you the details on what that entails, all right?
Since the chairman have,
Come forward, Lance.
I didn't mean
Sorry.
to startle you with that.
Basically, can answer any questions that anyone has.
Mr. Lambert.
Try to.
Okay. Guys, we built Edenborn Road because of congestion, traffic congestion, correct? Probably everybody up here can agree to that. And it's built through wetlands, If you pass on Edenborn, it's a fine road, but left and right of you is nothing but palmettos, which is considered wetlands. It's zoned conservationist now, which, you know, that would keep the traffic down. If we develop this whole area, it defeats the purpose of why we put that road through. This road that we paid $4 million, if you look at all the development that's wanting to come on it now in the wetland area, and we having to change the zoning. I've never had a zoning change of 3 different zones at one time that I know that come in front of us. Rezoning it from conservationist to mixed use to crossroad commercials and medium intensity. And it's conservationist now. And it's plenty, like you said, you ride down it when we have the big floods and see where the water's at. It's nothing but water on both sides of this road. And we had to build up, spend a lot of money to build up that road high enough to get out of that water. And if we keep it conservationist, the road will be less traveled when used for what we built it for. Lamar Dixon exit, industry exits, once we get out another alternative road coming from Ashland to Landry Road. So I'm in objection of changing all these zones in this area because it's defeating our purpose of why we put that road there. And plus, we spent $4 million, plus $1 million previous on that to get it all shovel-ready to get this money. Then we ended up having to come out of our budget to pay for this because the state backed away from it. So just my opinion on it. And I'm in objection to rezoning.
Councilman Satterley.
Yes, again, thank you, Jerome, and thank you, Lance. Lance, this question's to you. As our zoning official, has this matter gone through the zoning commission, or is this strictly a recommendation from the zoning? I'm gonna call you a department. I'm not quite sure what you guys are, but the planning and zoning department.
No, sir. This rezoning was initiated by the zoning commission.
Does it need to by statute or not?
Yes, sir. Yes, the staff came.
So what are we doing tonight, voting on something that we can't even do without having?
No, it went through the zoning commission.
Did,
yes,
say?
sir. I said it was
Okay.
initiated by the zoning by the zoning commission.
That's
yes,
at least comforting.
Yes, sir.
Now, that being said, I support my colleague, Mr. Lambert's previous comments. I too, and I have not served as long as that gentleman has, but I've served 6 years, going on 7. I've never seen so many, I'm going to be a little stronger, I usually am, radical zoning changes. He mentioned, 3, whatever, in my brief tenure. I just have a lot of problems, like Todd, supporting that, and I believe his argument is also valid that, if we really don't want to develop that area and therefore defeat the purpose of why we extended that road and why we spent $4 million, I'm a little concerned this evening.
Yes, sir.
Unless you guys can convince me otherwise.
This is a recommendation from the zoning commission.
I understand that.
Yes, sir.
A lot of times I understand a lot of things. I'm not sure a lot of people understand that I understand a lot of things. But anyway, thank you for listening. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Further questions or discussion? So we have if I'm not mistaken, we have a motion to adopt that, and we have a second.
I make the substitute motion. Well,
okay.
I'm going to just object to the motion.
You want to make a substitute
No,
motion?
that's fine. I'm going to just object because I don't need a substitute.
Object.
2 objections. Any consideration to sending this back to staff for less? Mr. Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lance.
Yes, sir.
When we were out there begging for right-of-way to get this road built, the other, I know we have the college and a few other things out there that, hey, look, we need to keep some of those people in there. And I know some restaurants and different things. Are we looking at that to help the college? Or what other things are y'all trying to do?
Well, the college is in the city.
Yeah.
And the college and the land uses that were in the city were not in consideration of what we were planning here. But what was in consideration is a connection to that traffic circle and the use of Edenborn to look at this corridor opening up as a commercial, industrial, mixed-use type corridor. And so that's you know, was of consideration with the zoning commission when they made us look at this, right?
So you trying to marry up some of the stuff that's there and try to help with the traffic is what you're trying to do.
That's what we're trying to do. And I might add that, you know, that there was a discussion in the past about how we don't have a PUD that's available for industrial or commercial or not, what I'd call non-residential use. And this kind of is a grouping of land uses that would basically fit what we'd consider some of the land uses that would be in a non-residential PUD. That's something we're looking at, obviously, but, you know, this is something that could accommodate that type of plan.
I know this is, Mr. Turner, is this your district?
Yes, it is.
Okay, man, I just want, all right.
Councilman Kluart.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to, you know, I mean, I've gotten a call from one of the landowners down there that they can't wait for this, just the way this area is going and has been going for a while, to get their land changed to some type of commercial use, okay? The second thing is, Mr. Fournier, this came up for discussion before you got here, before you hired on with the parish, so this is not new.
I know it's been around.
I just want to let you know that. That's all, sir.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Further discussion, Mr. Lambert.
One quick question, Lance and Jerome. Again, the drainage issues with all this property, this is all very low-land property. By the time you build all this commercial property that you're talking building there, where's the water going to flow then? Somebody's going to get hurt. Because it's all low. Everything you want to develop right there is very low and considered wetland. I don't know how much Lance, you might be able to tell us, you don't know right offhand, how much of it's wetlands?
No, sir, I do not.
Okay, but it's definitely in the flood zone for sure.
Yes, some of it is.
It's low.
Well, we will tell you that the property that was rezoned has come in for a development plan and a subdivision on that property, and they had to mitigate a good portion of the property because of the wetlands.
So they mitigating back in order to use it. So they're going to build it up and
yeah, any
impact.
Wetlands is going to have to be mitigated with the Corps.
Well, I know
It's gonna
that,
require a
but-
permit, and it's
But
very
still, it's going to
costly
impact
do.
that area once they build it up
Right.
and use that mitigated property.
Councilwoman Casso.
Yes, has anyone calculated the economic development impact of the rezoning of this land?
We have not.
Thank you.
I guess as of right now, we don't know what they plan on building there, correct?
That's right.
Okay, further discussion, questions? All right, so we have opposition, is that correct?
Yes.
We need to open the voting machines. Ms. McKee? Please note that Mr. Lawler is no longer in the chambers. Okay. Could you please close voting machines? Okay, the motion is adopted 7-2. Item number 22. Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, could you allow me about 10 seconds before we leave there? Everybody noticed that in the opening prayer, I did mention our police officers, as we always do, for the folks that's in emergency response, medical, and police and military. But just within the last week, within our parish, we've had two unpropagated attempts where somebody was firing on a police officer while the police officer's on duty, trying to do his job. So this is not some other, just happening in some other parish, some other state, whatever. So ask everybody, please stand by and please help the police get rid of the bad guys. Thank you.
Yep, that's a good guy.